Okay. Thank you. Okay. Welcome subcommittee members and members of the public to the September 20th, 2023 Governor's Workforce Development Board Strategic Planning Subcommittee meeting. For the record, my name is Nancy Olson, Chair of the Strategic Planning Subcommittee. Katie, will you please take roll call and confirm a quorum and verify posting?
Sure thing. Okay, so we have Chair Olson,
Here.
Drazen Ellis, Tommy White, Senator Lang, David Schmidt,
Here.
Milt Stewart, Councilman Scott Black, Ariana Florence,
Here.
Daniel McCatton. We have Vice Chair Stepona, Sherry Mantanota, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, Gina Bongiovi, Brett Miller.
Here.
Michael Bolognini, Robert Fink, and Michael Yoder. Okay, so Chair Olson, we do not have a quorum yet. We can push back the only voting agenda item, which would be the next one, agenda item number 5, to later in the meeting if you'd like. However, I do affirm that the agenda and notice for this meeting were properly posted pursuant to Nevada's open meeting law, NRS 241020.
Thank you. Nancy Olson for the record. Before we proceed, I would kindly request that anyone who speaks today identify themselves for the record. Continuing on to agenda item number 4, public comments. Members of the public are invited to provide comments at this time. No action may be taken on any matters during public comments until the matter itself has been included on an agenda as an item for possible action. Do we have any public comments on the telephone? Any public comments on Zoom?
Yes, for the record, Ken Goodrich.
Yes, thank you, Ken.
You didn't call my name. Just want to make sure I'm supposed to be here.
Hi, Ken. Yes, Katie Gilbertson for the record. We haven't added you as a subcommittee member yet, but I'm going to be talking about that in this meeting today. But thank you so much for being here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. Due to the lack of a quorum, we will skip agenda item number 5, the June 21, 2023 Strategic Planning Subcommittee meeting minutes. So we will push those to the next meeting. So moving on to agenda item number 6 for discussion and informational item only. The chair recognizes Katie Gilbertson, policy analyst at Goen, to provide some brief remarks on the subcommittee membership revisions.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you so much, Katie Gilbertson, Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation for the record. So at the last Governor's Workforce Development Board full board meeting in August, the full board approved the bylaws change to restructure the subcommittee. So that would affect this one and the Barriers and Underserved Population Subcommittee. The main reason for that was basically for issues like this where the subcommittees are too large and they can't reach quorum. So the new the bylaws are also posted on the Goen website in case you want to follow along. But basically the new subcommittee structure is going to cap membership at 11 members with no more than 1/3 or like 3 members being from outside of the governor's workforce development board, since this is a subcommittee of the board, obviously. However, that doesn't mean that people who are not like voting members of the subcommittee, certainly they can attend and they're welcome to attend and give input. They just can't really vote. But so we are going to be doing the subcommittee restructuring soon. And again, that would mean about 8 full board members would be on each subcommittee, and then 3 can be not on the board. So that's just something to take into consideration later.
Okay, Nancy Olson for the record. Are there any questions for Katie? Okay, is there any further discussion or questions concerning the subcommittee membership revisions before I move on to the next agenda item? Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 7 for discussion and informational item only. I will provide some updates on the progress of the strategic planning work group towards drafting the state plan. Any work group members that are here today and not part of the subcommittee, I invite you to join the discussion when applicable. So as most of you know, we have been working for several months now, probably coming close to a year at least, on the revisions to the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act state plan. This is for the state plan starting 2024 to 2028 with typically revisions at least every 2 years. The input from the governor's workforce board, in the last few years has been that there's been the desire to have a more comprehensive, cohesive state plan that is more of a true strategic plan than a compliance document. So we've had a very dedicated work group that has been working on the state plan and taking section by section to make changes, updates, in some cases, in most cases, taking responses that were originally title by title and putting those together to reduce duplication and come up with a response that is more cohesive, as a system instead of the individual titles. Where appropriate, we have left the responses at individual titles, and by appropriate, I mean when the federal prompt indicated that the response needed to reflect individual titles, then we've left those sections as individual, but each title has been tasked with going through and making sure that information is up to date, that anything that needs to be removed is removed, and anything that needs to be added is added. In some cases, data, was updated. In other cases, it was more about, new projects and things like that. So I can't even begin to tell you the number of hours and days that have gone into this. There are almost 300 pages in the state plan, and that does include, in addition to the joint section of the state plan that is, a document that's supposed to be system approach, as well as then following the joint section are the individual title responses. So the joint section is not 300 pages, but the full document, at least not until David gets finished. But the full document is almost 300 pages long. We thought we were going to cut out a lot of pages, and there is still some of that going on. But when it's all said and done, I expect that it will be close to that length when it is submitted. And as far as submission goes, for those of you that were not in either the executive committee meeting or the full board meeting, the last board meeting, we do have a timeline that we are working toward for approval from the board. We are planning to send out the draft version of the state plan by October 4th to give the board 2 weeks prior to the full board meeting to review the plan, along with an executive summary of changes that Katie has developed. And then there will be a vote on the draft plan from this full board on October 18th. And then the state plan will go to public comment for 60 days. Any changes based on public comment, if they are substantive, will go back to the board. If they are not considered substantive, then it wouldn't necessarily have to go back to the board, but we are planning to take it back to the board for full approval in the December, right, Katie? Sorry, December board meeting?
For the final approval?
Oh, no, it wouldn't be.
Be February.
February, sorry. Yes, February board meeting. And then the expected due date to the Department of Labor and U.S. Department of Education is approximately March 1st. So it will be then submitted into the portal prior to that deadline. With that in mind, and the fact that we are looking at a tight turnaround as far as getting that draft completed, we are not bringing the draft to this group. It will go directly to the full board for approval. However, as we get here in the next week or so, we would be happy to share the draft with base. I don't think there's any problem with sharing the draft with anyone that wants access to it. So we still have work to do in the next 2 weeks. But it is, I will cautiously say it's looking like we have a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Yes, David.
It's less a question than just wanting to make sure that everyone who's not in the work group knows just how much work you and Ariana have put into helping to work through all of this. I think you deserve public kudos, because that is a pile of work. And I know you have worked very hard for like 6 months on something that is not your day job. So thank you. And hopefully the submissions that we're all making are worthy of the effort you're putting into coordinating them and making the work happen.
Nancy Olson for the record, thank you very much. I will say though that keep in mind that Ariana carried the weight for almost 3 months of that time while I was out following surgery. So yeah, I have to give her so much credit. I can't even begin to say. But thank you. I appreciate that. And we, speaking for Ariana, we both appreciate that. And I do see that, we have people that are in the work groups or work group that are not on the subcommittee. Feel free to add to any information that I've provided. If there's something that you think, we need to get input from the group, I think this is a great time to do that. This might be the shortest meeting on record.
So Nancy,
Yes.
can you speak to the executive summary that we're doing for the board? Not so much the executive summary, but the working plan, the living plan.
Oh, yes, Nancy Olson for the record. So yes, one of the things that leadership of the board, our chair and co-chair, vice chair, I'm never sure which one, Hugh Anderson and Ken Evans have really felt strongly about is that we have some type of a working document that is more manageable, is more concrete in nature. So the plan is that using the overarching goals and the strategies that have been put in the state plan and developing from those strategies and overarching goals, more concrete goals, smart goals, and really, lining up the measures that would go along with that, and how that would drive implementation of the activities within the state plan. We are going to work on or be involved in at least working on a 2 to 3 page document around different strategies. So there might be a couple 2 or 3 page documents just to, again, drive that implementation of the activities and strategies within the state plan. Speaking very frankly, what has happened in the past is that all these great, wonderful things were put into the state plan. And in most cases, one partner or maybe a couple partners were doing things, but it was not a system-wide approach. And so when it came to the system as a whole, there was not follow-up on the implementation of the state plan. So we really want to make sure that there is a vehicle to make sure that the activities and the strategies are truly implemented and that we measure progress. So that's where the 2 to 3 page documents come in. And those documents would be more of a living document that would shift and be added to and deleted from over time. Whereas the state plan, it's pretty unwieldy to do that. And if you make significant changes, it has to go back to the U.S. Department of Labor or U.S. Department of Education and Department of Labor for approval. So we don't do that. And we also want to make sure that when we talk about goals in the state plan, that we're not painting ourselves into a corner with the Department of Labor and U.S. Department of Ed. And then, again, Nancy Olson for the record. One thing, Brett, I don't think this is really what you meant, but I'm going to speak to it anyway, because when you first started saying something, I was thinking you meant, how is the plan going to be, what are we going to do at the meeting in October and February as far as around the state plan? And I will tell you that what has been done in the past in respect to that probably won't change too much. And that is that we take a few minutes to explain changes within the state plan. Katie put together an executive summary of changes that is a lot more higher level than it has been in the past. So in the past, it's been, page 10, we changed this. Page 25, we changed this. It's impossible to do that with this because the changes have been so widespread. We would have a 300-page executive summary. So the executive summary that Katie put together is a bigger picture executive summary. And I think that it's the right approach for this. We can answer questions as a group at the board meeting, but I don't think that the executive summary, I don't think we can go into the section by section, page by page type explanation. So my thinking at the full board meeting is that we will go through that executive summary, be available to answer any questions. Prior to the board meeting, send out the 2022 approved plan and the revised plan. I had originally thought that we would send out the revised plan with the markup. But again, there have been so many changes. I think that would be more confusing than it would be worth it. So I'm thinking that we send out the original 2022 and then the revised for 2024. And if board members really want to dig into it, they can take the two and compare them. So, okay. Any follow-up questions?
Yes, this is Drazen.
Yes, Johnson.
I just wanted to kind of throw this out there as a possible idea, because I know that like traditionally, like this is kind of the approach that we've had in presenting these. But just in kind of understanding some of the state plan, there's a lot of kind of technical information there. I don't know that most folks at that at the board actually have delved that deep into some of this kind of government lingo and things. So what do you think if when instead of simply going through the executive summary, we just maybe have the different titles set up, just communicate their top 3 to 5 strategies that just summarize essentially their portion? Because I know for like us in VR, there's like 40 pages. A lot of the information is duplicative, and as you're saying, the same solution is for this question, and it's for this question, and it's for this question, and it's like for a good portion of it, it's really just one answer essentially. So, and maybe that may just be communicated maybe in a more kind of palatable language that would then kind of more talk to the specific goals that they're looking from the government or from our agencies.
Yeah, Nancy Olson for the record. So, Jocelyn, it sounds like what you're talking about is the title specific, the separate section that is title specific. And I would say, yes, I think that each of us with our individual separate sections would want to go, want to highlight key points within that section. For the joint section, though, that's where we're looking at it from a system approach instead of the individual titles. And so yeah, I would see it as being, and Katie, this is probably really important for you when you're working on the agenda, but I would see it as reviewing the, overall system approach joint sections, and then the individual title sections. Because yes, there's definitely that section for each of us in the back that we do on our own. And the work group and even the subcommittee has not been a part of that. We have left that up to each individual title. I told somebody talking with them the other day that when it came to those individual title sections, I certainly didn't feel qualified to, get into somebody else's section and make any changes or suggestions or anything. So, yeah. Was that the part that you were talking about, Drazen?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, the first part is kind of the more the overall. So, and the other part we can just kind of limit it just like to a few comments, so that way that portion of the presentation doesn't go on for too long.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yes, David.
David Schmidt for the record, because I forgot last time. Building on that thought, would it be helpful to, in either the executive summary or in the presentation to the full board, to maybe kind of do a 3 to 5 highlights, like walk through the state plan. So like the economic and workforce analysis, the overall strategic plan, the title and partner specific plans and responses in kind of the same, like, here's the sorts of things you'll see here. Here's the sorts of things you'll see here. Here are the highlights or the trends that, you might want to pay the most attention to help kind of seed that conversation. Because I think I was at like 56 pages and I still want to add more, though I might hit delete. Sorry. And it's mostly tables. It's horrible. It's impossible reading, but I wanted to try to get some data out there so that it would at least be in the document sitting on the shelf.
Nancy Olson for the record. So you're assuming, David, that the members of the board will not go through it 2 weeks ahead of time? So I think if we keep it pretty brief and kind of, again, pick, very higher level main point kind of things, then yes, I think that makes sense. We don't want to take up then, more than 2 hours. And so that would be that would be my only concern.
We definitely don't. I think 2 hours. I'm thinking like if we can summarize it to like 30 minutes, that would probably be the best. Yeah, I think one thing that this, I guess, Drazen also for the record, my apologies, I got to say that earlier. So I think one of the things that we could maybe also do is, as the board has specific goals that it's trying to achieve, whether it's kind of regarding the daycare situation or serving specific kind of minority groups or subgroups of those, if we can maybe highlight what specific aspects of the plan talk to those particular goals, so that way, not necessarily we're saying that the whole plan, this is kind of where the whole plan is focused, but at least when it comes to those particular aspects of the plan, kind of whatever the array of different subsections are, obviously one of the, I think, when that comes to the aspect that talks about serving people with disabilities, and that being one of the subgroups that the board would like to address. Essentially, almost everything that VR is putting on can be copied and put under that, because that's all how we will be addressing that situation as a state government. But as far as all the other ones as well, if you can kind of make some connections, they might be helpful.
Yes, Nancy also for the record. Ariana Florence, I see your hand up.
I'm sorry, Ariana Florence for the record. Does it count if you say it before me? Sorry.
Before you unmute.
Yes, you already said it. So what normally the board is constantly asking about is the goals and the strategies, and they want to even delve further, like we would in a 2-page document, in which we're gonna really dive deep into that. So I would say the focus of the whole presentation would be on the goals and strategies and everything that we're planning surrounding that, and even perhaps things that we've included throughout the rest of the document that support that specific content. The rest of it, I can tell you, they do not understand nor care. So the 30 minutes, if they spoke about that, they'd be engaged and interested.
Yeah. Nancy Olson for the record. I think that this board is, there are more individuals on this board that do listen and care and all that stuff. But yes, in past years, especially, I can't say that, I suspect that almost no one on the board actually read through the plan. So I do think that we definitely have some members now that has changed. But you're right. If we drone on for 2 hours, they're gonna be done. So we definitely want to watch it. But and we have gone through, the overarching goals and the strategies, but I do think that that's worth including when it comes to the presentation to the board. And I don't think that we can get much headway on the 2 to 3 page documents by October 18th. Because that would be the other thing that I would say they are really, really interested in hearing is, the progress on that. Yeah. Ariana, I don't know if your hand is still up.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yes, Katie.
Hi, yeah, Katie Gilbertson for the record. I think that's a really good point, Drazen. So in the executive summary draft, and it's still in draft form, but I did try and tie like the board's main priorities into the goals that we had voted on before. I do like the idea of pointing that out in the plan, like page whatever is this goal about childcare. Because yeah, you're right. Then it makes them go to the actual plan. So I think that's good. We can definitely tie that in there once it gets a little more cleaned up and everything. Regarding the agenda, Nancy, so did we want to have the 2 agenda items for combined overview and then title overview, or?
Nancy Olson for the record, based on previous years and based on the fact that they are 2 very different things, I would say probably yes. We would probably need the joint portion,
Sure.
one agenda item, and the title specific sections
Okay.
the other.
Yeah, no, I can definitely do that. I allotted like 45 minutes to an hour for this on the agenda. I mean, this is obviously the main focus of the meeting. So,
Yeah.
but again, I don't, like you guys said, the 2 hours might be a little too much. So working on that. And then another thing I wanted to point out for the 18th is that Ken Evans is going to be at the Carson City location. We got his travel approved today. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of leadership representation up there for you guys. Another thing that I can't promise, but we've tried, is we've requested the governor to come to the next meeting too.
Wow. Okay.
So we're trying. So I had to put in a request for him. I haven't heard back. I said that, we have the 3 locations. I was hoping either Carson or Grant Sawyer, but you know, we're gonna try and have them there because I think that would really engage the board members, right? So
Um, Nancy Olson, for the record, the bad news for Ariana and I is we will be in Baltimore.
oh no, oh that's right. But you can
So
still make it, right?
we will still be at
Okay.
the meeting, yes.
Okay, just virtually.
It
Yeah.
will have to be virtual, yes. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we can try to get as many Carson City people
sure.
in person as possible.
Yeah, well, Ken can kind of lead the charge at Carson, you know, like I
Okay.
guess just meeting wise, you know, for that since he'll be there.
Yeah, yeah. No, the good news is that it's our meeting will start at at 5 o'clock Baltimore time.
Right.
So it won't conflict with any of our training that we're going to. It'll just be a very long day.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. Yeah. I mean,
No
it's
problem.
definitely the most important meeting for this, you know, so
It is.
thank you.
It
But
is.
yeah, and once I hear back from the governor, I'm gonna put that in the reminder email to, you know, get people excited and everything. We're gonna let people know that Ken will be in Northern Nevada too, at the Carson location. So hopefully more people will show up and and get engaged. You know, we're trying, but
That'd be good.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions, feedback, comments? Okay, I will move on to the next agenda item. Before I move on, I would request that a member of the subcommittee who arrived late after roll call, identify yourselves. We may have a quorum now.
Guess that's me, Armando Oliva, State of Nevada Welfare Division.
And Mike Yoder, Division of Welfare, if my audio is working.
Yes, we hear you, Mike.
Thank you.
Rosnella's rehab administrator.
Okay, Katie Gilbertson for the record. So we have 7 and we would need 9 for quorum. So almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also have Daniel McHatton, but that still puts us at 8.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Or we're 7 with him actually.
Oh, you counted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's okay. We'll put it on next time.
All right. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 8, members of the public are invited for final comments. Any public comments on the telephone? Any public comments on Zoom? Oh,
We just need one more now. Just one more.
yeah. Yeah, Nancy Olson for the record. Edward, we were just getting ready to close.
Oh, sorry. I got the time crossed on my calendar, and even the last email that Katie said it said 3 p.m. and I'm like, did it switch? So okay. And then I look closer, like, no, it's at 2 o'clock. Nice, thanks. I attended the meeting there and I left.
We actually need one more for a quorum, and we only have one item to vote on, so I think we're good because it was just the minutes from the last meeting. So we can always push those down the road.
I approve. So if that carries us, then we're good.
Thanks, Eduard.
So, Edward, I will give you the chance, going backwards a little bit. Can I do that, Katie?
You'll have to just do public comment again, but
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 8, members of the public are invited for final comments. So if you would like to make any public comments, be it from the committee or not, are there any comments on the telephone? Or any on Zoom? Okay, hearing no further comments, I hereby move to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.